Good afternoon. I call this meeting of the Board of Parks and Recreations to order. I'm Susanna Scott Barnes, Vice Chair of the Board of Parks and Recreations, and Dr. Michelle Steele will be joining us shortly. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The appeal of decisions pursuant to the provision of 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Codes of Law. Please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreations may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under common law writ of certiorari. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of final decision by the board. Any persons or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to assure that time and procedural requirements are met. The first item is considerations of minutes. Has everybody read the minutes? And
I move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second, and I'd like to make an edit that the item that was at the very end of the meeting that Jeff Haynes had added to the, excuse me, let me get to it. He added a comment about the naming committee. I would like to move that into the section related to that item and just not edit it, but just move it.
Make a motion, we accept.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, there's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Let's see, Metro Council referrals. Are there any council members present? Director Odom?
There are none today.
Okay. The next item is old business 11-21-04, a request for conditional approval to accept a donation from Habitat for Humanity of 2 tracts of land totaling 1.47 acres and a proposed park improvement to the land. Tract 1 is a 1.14 acre portion of parcel ID 0600005700 located at 3017 Aldrich Lane. And tract 2 is a 0.33 acre portion of parcel ID 0600008900 located at 520 Brick Church Park Drive. The conditions include 1, Parks staff level approval of all design, construction, and compliance with all Metro Parks standards and policies. 2, a coordinated public engagement during design phase. 3, a phase 1 environmental review of all property to be donated and resolution of any required remediation. 4, development of property survey, legal description, and all other instruments required per Metro to accept the property donation. 5, standard written confirmation of other terms, including no match obligation from parks. And 6, upon transfer, Metro Parks will operate and maintain the park. The Acquisitions Committee met this morning. Commissioner Haynes, is there a recommendation?
There is. We recommend approval.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move that we approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Item 11-21-05 has been deferred. So we will move to the consent agenda. I'll accept a motion to accept the consent agenda in its entirety.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those, any discussion? So wait, okay, sorry, let's see. The consent agenda includes the permits for facilities? Okay. So, yes, I would like to pull out the one item from the consent agenda, which is the West Nashville Sports League. But to keep all the other items in the consent agenda. Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes. Will we also then vote on this separately today?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Okay, so all those in favor of accepting the consent agenda, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's been approved. That motion's been approved. So now I need to move to sorry, do I add the West Nashville Sports League to the agenda now?
Well, it's already on the agenda, so you've all approved everything except for that item. So next on the agenda is the West Nashville Sports League's permit.
Okay. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the West Nashville Sports League permit. And since I raised it, I would just like to raise a few concerns that I have about the existing permit, or the proposed permit. There's a few things in here that I think might need some editing with the permit in order for me to recommend approving it. One item is that this language in the existing permit, as it's been proposed, does not address any, and I guess subleasing, and I'm not quite sure how to term what that's being, sub-permitting. Okay, so my understanding is that the West Nashville Sports League does have existing sub-permitting relationships, so I propose that the language of the permit address that, and that we get a better understanding of that, those arrangements, that we're adding that language in here. There's one item on the permit that says the general public may use the facilities at such time they are not being used by the league, meaning the West Nashville Sports League. And currently, if the baseball fields are not being used, they are under padlock. So I guess we just need to be aware of the situation and either ask that the permit holder not padlock it, or remove this language, because I think there's an issue related to how the general public may use the facilities at such time they are not being used by the league. And there's just a couple of other things related to this permit. I guess what is not being considered on this is the sports fields, because I guess that's under a separate permit.
The multi-purpose fields where the flag football takes place is not part of this permit. It's a separate permit that is paid for through my office and scheduled through my office.
So will that permitting that won't surface to the board level? That just goes?
Currently, that type of permitting does not come to the park board.
If I might, it doesn't currently come through Parks Board, but at your last meeting when you developed the working committee, you're going to explore that, and even yesterday talked about deferring the permitting process to the policy committee. So I think that could be a part of that exploration.
Okay. Well, I guess just kind of taking a step back, it's already been identified that this corner of Warner Parks has already has a traffic issue and an overuse issue. So I guess I'm not quite sure how to resolve the overusage, piece of it related to this permit, but I'm gonna have a hard time, I think, voting to approve this permit without some alterations to the plan. George?
And I'm so sorry I missed the meeting yesterday, but and it might have been brought up. Why would that permit not come in front of us, John?
That's the type of permit where if you had a softball team and you wanted to go practice somewhere, or we have youth leagues, basically anyone who has a permit that comes through you, they're responsible for the maintenance and everything that's involved with that facility. The permit for the flag football, Rick Taylor's folks take care of those fields, we reserve it, it's available to everyone all the time. The partnerships that we've developed through the annual permits are a way for us, with the resources we have, to provide the fields in partnership with some entity. But not all fields fall in that category. So we have some that we permit, and that allows anybody that wants to run a league or practice or do whatever they're going to do. And then we have the others that you all approve on an annual basis, that a group is responsible for the maintenance, utilities, and then programming those fields.
So I think it's more like a reservation, like if you
It
want
is.
to reserve a parks facility for a party or something.
Or a picnic shelter. It's very similar to a picnic shelter.
So a flag football league with several hundred kids is like reserving a picnic shelter. That's what I'm hearing. I mean, they seem very different, but that's something we need to explore. That's where I was confused, because it's a big league. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's a big league versus the church group running a picnic shelter. So
Right, and Director Odom?
To say, ask, would you be comfortable approving this permit with conditions? That these items that you are bringing out are explored, and, because they'll need to be explored by staff and get responses by staff.
Yeah, I would be comfortable, yes, I would be comfortable approving, I guess, making a motion that this permit be approved with these conditions being met, that we address the sub-permitting issue, that be included in there, and that we address the public's access to these facilities, and I mean, I don't really know how to say the overusage or the traffic issues that are related to this permit holder's current use.
So one thing that came out in our meeting last month was school usage of these fields. I'm certainly fine with JT Moore using this field, but if Scott is sub-permitting it to CPA or other private schools, I think that also needs to be, disclosed in this, relative one to overusage, relative two to those schools then running off other teams that may need practice facilities. This field is not intended for private school, reservations, in my opinion. So that should be also part of this homework for conditional approval.
I agree, and I think the conditional approval should be that we not padlock anything effective today. I just don't think anything should be padlocked for a public park.
Okay, so let's see. So we have the conditional approval needs a motion. We need a motion for the conditional approval.
So I'll move approval conditioned upon the requirements that you stipulated, that George stipulated, and also additional clarity on the sub-permitting process and who are those sub-permit holders, and making sure we approve those at the next meeting.
Okay.
A second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Is there a discussion?
Yeah,
my only discussion is, you know, somebody brought it up earlier, but, you know, the padlocking thing, you know, could be padlocked to save from public destruction too, right? I mean, if somebody's going out, I don't know whether you know, obviously, I don't think you can get into the baseball field. You could maybe climb a fence or walk in there or do whatever you want. And I don't know how you destroy a baseball field if you can't physically get a car or some sort of vehicle or a motorcycle or something like that in there. But I don't know whether the actual ball fields where they play the flag football and all that sort of stuff is also being padlocked. But I mean, obviously, somebody could get in there and destroy that. So you know, I'm fine with the motion. I'm just saying I think there are circumstances that maybe we'll explore, as you said. We're going to explore these things, get back, and that may mean that a lot of these things don't change at all, or it may mean that there are constructive changes that might come to rest. So I just want to say, you know, I don't know that per se that change is coming, but I think we do need to explore all these things for all the reasons y'all brought
I
up.
think that's a good point. John, what is padlocked and what's not?
Will you come to the podium, John?
Sure. I'm glad you asked, because I was trying to decide whether. Basically, the rule of thumb that we have is that the only time you can padlock a field is if you've already worked it. So in other words, if whatever that permit holder is, especially with a dirt baseball infield, when they've gone out there and they've raked it and got it all set for games, then they'll normally lock it so that it keeps somebody from going out there and messing it up. But if they have not prepped it, then it should not be locked. Now, I have heard the problems at that particular park because of the dog park across the street that's so popular. Some of the dog owners like to come over and use the baseball fields as a dog park, and that has its own problems if somebody doesn't pick up after themselves. But as a rule from our office, the only time those fields should be allowed to be locked is if they've sent somebody out there, paid, or you know, whoever their workers are, to go out there and work the field and it's all prepped, then they can lock it until after the games. But if it's not, then it should not be locked.
I'd like to say a couple things. One is, I think we need to remember that one of the reasons we have, that I think I understand from you, John, that we have the annual permit is that the annual permit holder maintains the property, and that Metro is really stretched to do it, would be stretched to do it itself. So I think this is a bit of a two-way street, and we need to think about the advantage that an annual leaseholder brings to caring for our fields. The other thing that I would say is, I think all these things are worthy of being explored. I am concerned about the timing and how long that will take. We have a very vibrant group of young people who want to play baseball, and I would hate for this exploration sort of at the 11th hour to stop the next season from happening. So while I think it all needs to be explored, I think there's a lot to consider here.
So to follow up on that, I agree completely. I think one of the reasons we're approving this conditionally today is so Scott can move ahead with the application process, the organization process, and not stop the league in its tracks. That's important on December 7th to allow them to move forward. I think your exploration is important, but it's really more probably for future permitting process, for future years, for us to really, discuss those items.
And I would also like to amend, if that's the right procedure. We don't have Sharon here today, Dr. Gentry here to tell us. But I'd like to amend, because I think that adding the traffic and congestion issue into this condition, there's no way that Scott's going to be able to solve that. And that's naive of us to put into this, in my opinion. So I'd like to remove that.
Yeah, let me disagree slightly. I think if he is sub-permitting this to private schools or other things that aren't in the scope of running a baseball league, and he's bringing about more traffic in the area, I think that is under the purview of this board. Okay. And so I think we have to be careful.
Yeah, okay, I see that. But that is in there also as a clause.
Okay, I guess I'm just trying to get clarity on we have a motion and a second, but I'm not sure we have a timeline embedded in this and a clarity on the next step, so.
Excuse me if I might, I thought that our staff, John Holmes and his team would have an update and responses to the information at the next Parks Board meeting.
At the next Parks Board meeting, okay, all right, just making sure we've got clarity on that, okay. So all those in favor of the motion that's been presented? Aye. And any opposed? Okay, so the motion passes. Okay, so let's see, I have lost my place. Okay, so new business, the next item is 12-21-03, the Nashville Zoo, Inc. request a recommendation of approval from the Parks Board to donate a 4.4 acre parcel of property, parcel number 133-000-14500, to the Metropolitan government as described in Exhibit 1 of the attached quitclaim deed. The parcel is adjacent to a parcel of property currently owned by Metro and leased to the Nashville Zoo in a lease agreement approved by BL 096473 and amended by the resolution R 98-1039 attached. A proposed parking garage may be constructed across both of these parcels, and the current lease would be amended to include the donated parcel. This item will be deferred to acquisitions. The next item is 112-21-04. Creative Parks Nashville requests the Parks Board to accept an in-kind grant not to exceed $2,975 to purchase and install a historic marker near the Centennial Art Center to acknowledge the facility as the former swimming pool, the former swimming pool. This grant requires no match or other obligation of Metro and Parks. Director Odom, is there a recommendation?
Staff recommends approval.
I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. The next item is 12-21-05. Metro Park staff request to adopt the name Two Rivers Lane for the internal road at Two Rivers Park to improve public wayfinding. The road provides access to the golf course, dog park, rear parking at McGavock High, and secondary access to Two Rivers Middle School. Director Odom, is there a recommendation?
Staff recommends approval.
Okay. I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Would you like? Okay. Dr. Steele has arrived. Okay. The next item is 12-21-06. Centennial Park Conservancy requests the board to accept an in-kind grant to fund the purchase and installation of flooring in the Parthenons West Gallery to replace the signage at the Parthenons entrance. This grant will not exceed $6,811 and requires no match or other obligations for Metro Parks. All projects will be paid for directly by Centennial Park Conservancy. Director Odom, is there a recommendation?
Staff recommends approval.
Okay, I'll accept a motion.
I move approval.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any discussions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Shall I go to the next one, or are you ready? Am I gonna keep going? Okay, all right. The next item is 12-21-07. Centennial Park Conservancy requests the board to accept a grant in the amount of $16,642 to fund one part-time position in the Parthenon Museum store. This grant will be submitted annually and distributed quarterly to Metro Parks. Salaries and actual hours worked will be reflected in quarterly reimbursements. This grant requires no match or other obligation for Metro and Parks. Director Odom?
Staff recommends approval.
Okay, it's been, I'm sorry, is there a motion?
I move. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any discussions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. The next item is 12-21-08. Greenways for Nashville requests the board to accept an in-kind grant to improve trailheads on the Stones River Greenway and 3 trailheads on the Whites Creek Greenway. Improvements include painting, retrofit framing, updated wayfinding graphics, bench repairs, and other enhancements to bring the trailheads to like-new conditions. The value of this grant is $75,000 and requires no match or obligation from Metro Parks. All work will meet Metro Parks specification and will be paid for by Greenways for Nashville. Director Odom?
Staff recommends approval.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Move approval. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Let's see, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Item 12-21-09, the Historic Germantown Neighborhood Association requests board approval to fundraise for a proposed fitness trail in the open field in Morgan Park. Director Odom, is there a recommendation?
Staff recommends approval.
Okay. I'll accept a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. How do we determine that this is something that the community wants? I'm just kind of curious. I'm kind of new at this. I mean, is this a bunch of,
Tim, you've been working with the group. We typically have input from the community through these groups, but in this particular case, Tim Nate has been working with the leadership of this organization.
Sure, I'll make an initial comment, and then we have representatives from the Germantown, Historic Germantown Neighborhood Association. This is a project that has really been generated grassroots by the Neighborhood Association. So they may have some information about specific public engagement that they have undertaken. We know anecdotally over the years there have been a lot of requests for equipment like this in the park, so I think we feel comfortable, verifying that the demand is there. And Britt DePriest with the Neighborhood Association may wish to add to it.
Come on. And then before he speaks, I'd also like to assure you that when items are brought to the Parks Board, we are certain to make sure to vet internally with each division that is touched. So because there's a community center there, we've spoken with our community center team, Tim with our planning team, our maintenance team, to make sure it makes sense in the interest of Metro Parks and the constituency that we serve. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So as to the question about is there community desire for something like this, the reason why we started this effort was because people were using this park in this manner already. Around the early days of the COVID shutdowns, we noticed that the majority of users of the playground equipment beside the community center were doing pull-ups and push-ups and stretching and, doing wall jumps on the limestone walls around there. And it just sort of sparked this idea in our heads that, let's look at this park and see if there's a way that we can enhance that use and accentuate that use. And I think that the plan that we came up with does that very well, without really stepping on the toes of any of the current uses of the open field. This has been, our neighborhood association, it's not, ordained by the city or anything like that, but it is the neighborhood association for Germantown. When a neighborhood issue comes up, our councilman, Freddie O'Connell, always asks, have you spoken to Historic Germantown yet? And this has been vetted through all of our committees and received unanimous support.
Thank you. It looks fantastic. I mean,
Sure.
I was just curious how it happened. So
I understand.
thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sure.
great, thank you. Good question, and thank you for your comments. And just a point of clarification, is this agenda item require them to come back to us? Or are we, once they do the fundraising, they're able to implement this plan?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
Unless, I mean, I'm sure they would be amenable to coming back and giving you an update if you would like that once the fundraising.
We think that the fundraising effort for this is going to give us ample opportunity to come back anytime you guys are ready to hear from us. So just let us know and we can keep you updated. And we'll stay in contact with Tim and some of the park staff and let them know sort of what our progress is. I'm sure that we're going to be going back to them several times once we get into the fine details of design, just to make sure we're not doing anything out there that they don't want us to do. But we expect our next several months to be taking up fundraising.
Do you have a sense of what your fundraising goal will be?
So the initial estimates that we have, which are very general, from Great Southern Recreation, who is going to be our equipment supplier, is $250,000. Yeah. It seems like a steep hill to climb. Germantown is rapidly redeveloping. There are several large developments going in who will be direct beneficiaries of something like this. So we're very confident we're going to be able to hit that mark.
okay, thank you. Okay, so it's been.
So, quick question.
Oh, sorry.
In trying to learn from what we did in 2017 with a indefinite fundraising timeline, should we add a outside date here? And I'm really going to turn to Macy. I trust Historic Germantown. I think it's a great project, but I think we need to learn from our past experiences.
I would always recommend that you put an end date.
So, Historic Germantown, do you have a potential outside date by which you think you can raise this money? Otherwise,
If I just sort of had to come up with one off the top of my head, I mean, would 18 months be an appropriate amount of time?
I think that Macy had identified 5 years as being kind of a standard kind of Metro time horizon that Metro uses, so.
That's even better.
That's just the standard length of our standard contracts, I mean.
yeah, I think that's too long.
Yeah.
So I think we ought to do 24 months. And then if the money's not raised, he's got to come back before us and ask for permission again to do that.
Okay, so do you want to amend the motion?
Yeah, I'd like to amend the motion to approve this with a 24-month outside date to raise the money.
Okay,
Second.
okay, it's been moved, this amendment has been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So the motion passes. So the motion with the amendment passes. Okay.
Can I say something?
Sure, George.
I just want to go back. John, I just want to ask you a question, because I agree, getting back to the fields, if they're prepped for a game, I get padlocking them. Would they, I'm just curious, like right now, do you think they're padlocked?
They shouldn't be because all the fields are pretty well shut down right now.
Right, but
Across the county.
do we know they're not padlocked and not
I
accessible?
do not know that for certain, no, sir.
I think we should just find that out.
I can find out.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, good question. Okay, special presentations. I think we have Mr. Terry Cook to update the board on Lytle Bend. Welcome.
Thank you, appreciate it.
5 minutes.
5 minutes,
Okay.
you're gonna watch that for me?
I think Mary is.
All right. So, last year I came and we talked about a research permit for the Nature Conservancy, spent some time out at Ravenwood Park, and specifically Stones River Bend, which is now known as Lytle Bend Park. And so I really wanted to just give you an overview, much more of a visual overview of the work that we've been doing out there over the last year. Also appreciate Monique's support, working with Tim and Jim as well. And there have been a number of folks that have been involved in this work, from the bird program at Friends of Warner Park. Jenny's here as well, Austin P., Southeast Grassland Initiative. We've had students from Tennessee State University, Swanee, and Belmont. So it's been a great sort of field learning opportunity for many, as well as to collect some really important inventory data of the park prior to development of Ravenwood Park. So I'm going to give you a quick, hopefully, there you go. And this is really a visual tour. And those of you that have not been out, I really recommend you do, and I'd be more than happy to give you a tour of, and all these pictures are taken from Lytle Bend Park. It's a wonderful landscape that Metro has had for probably a decade. Very little use except for a haying operation out there. Some beautiful, majestic, old growth oak trees that are out there that are probably were out there since before the founding of Nashville. It's a beautiful landscape. So we set out to really look at, let's inventory, and do a number of small research projects that gave us an insight into the nature of this park. It's a great area when you think about pollinators. It's a beautiful and spectacular place to go to visit. We've been doing some acoustic work, bioacoustic work, looking at bats, how bats are utilizing this park. It's really an underappreciated set of species where we place a recorder out. We do recordings during the night throughout the year, and then we can determine what species. We have some very common species as well as gray bat species that are federally endangered that are utilizing the park. We've had so many students involved in this activity as well, and interns. Monarchs, again, they've gone through a tremendous collapse throughout the years. An important area for pollination and utilization of monarchs is they come through. They take 5 generations to move through the US and back down to Mexico. So we've been doing some monarch tagging out there to see what monarchs from Nashville may be finding their way down into central Mexico. The time we spent out there, we also found out it was being utilized by meadowlarks. We found an 80 to 90% population reduction in meadowlarks in North America. But here at Lytle Bend Park, we've documented nesting success out here as well, using a variety of interns as well as our folks from the bird program and Friends of Warner Park. And then we've set up a number of wildlife cameras out there to really look at what are some of the mammals that are occupying and utilizing this. So we'll kind of spend the rest of the time just seeing the diversity of wildlife. These parks are great open space opportunities for recreation, but they are really important from a conservation standpoint too. And oftentimes we don't get to see as we go through our quick hikes or runs or as we stroll through a park, we don't get to see that. But our wildlife cameras could pick up a wide variety, whether it's a bobcat or blue heron or mallard or fawn. Some tremendous whitetail populations out there and bucks that utilize this landscape, and some videos that we were able to capture as well. You know, consider that Lytle Bend is probably 20 plus minutes from downtown Nashville. It's probably, you know, Ravenwood altogether, maybe 600 acres. But there's just this variety of wildlife there that I think, you know, that appreciation is one reason why we're all here, and to be able to go out there and document it and just to be able to share that with folks, I think is an important part of the work. And I know you guys don't often have the opportunity to go out and see some of this while you are stewards of our parks. It's often nice to just be able to share some of the things that are happening in our urban settings. A great little population of river otters that are occupying Lytle, coming up from the Stones River up onto Lytle Bend Park. And again, just the full cycle of life. Our Canada geese, and sort of last, you want to do this? Yeah, okay. Let me see. Hopefully this will play. Well, it's not playing, but a bobcat, here it is. A series of photos our wildlife camera picked up that we just sort of linked together. So there are sort of little National Geographic moments that are happening in our parks every day. And so we're trying to be able to sort of capture some of that and find creative ways to share that and to gain a better appreciation of the conservation value of our parks. And so next time, from this work over the past year is really looking at sort of some native grassland restoration that we'd like to propose. hopefully we'll see you in January in terms of being able to discuss that. But just want to give you a quick update, so thank you.
It was a fun treat. Thank you so much
Alrighty.
for sharing that.
So as a quick observation, we've been dealing with a lot of divided, controversial issues the last couple of years. Having this report gives me faith in what we're doing as a community, and I'd love to see more of this. We need to go see that park. That's fantastic.
Yeah, can we try to set up some times maybe over the next month to get out there at the right time of day or whatever, maybe, and have a little field trip?
That'd be great.
Thank you.
That'd be great. All right, well, let's see, Tim Nage is next to present the Fort Negley Master Plan overview.
I am just going to make a few introductory comments and then turn it over to Richie Jones. Richie Jones is a partner and principal with HDLA Landscape Architects, and he's leading the master planning team at Fort Negley. As I have reported to you over the past several months, we are at this point probably about a third of the way through the master planning process. We had what I thought was a very successful first public meeting in November. About 150 people showed up, a really wide diversity of people and interests. And what we are seeing, if we didn't know it already, is that people in Nashville are very, very invested in Fort Negley. There is a very strong emotional connection to the site, and I think people really do understand how important and significant the site is, how many stories there are to be told, all of the layers of history there are at the site. So it's an incredible opportunity. It's also a little bit fraught as we navigate our way through the process, but so far so good. And so we want to give you a little bit of an update on where we are in the master planning process. So with that, I'll turn it over to Richie.
Thank you, Tim. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here today to give you an update on Fort Negley. As Tim mentioned, this truly is a very special place within our community and our region with very important stories to tell. So I want to briefly introduce you to the project and our process and our team and where we are to date and what's coming in the future. So it's under here? Okay, great. Thank you. So we'll do a brief team introduction. We'll give some site context, talk about our timeline, and then talk about our next steps. I want to start out with our team. We have a wonderful and robust team of experts and consultants. I don't think I've ever been more excited to be a part of a team and especially honored to be leading this team. Of course, it all starts with you, Metro Parks and Recreation, in conjunction with Metropolitan Historical Commission. We've had the pleasure of working with Tim, Nate, Jim Hester, Jackie, Tim Walker, Sean Alexander. They've been absolute wonderful partners throughout this process. HDLA, Landscape Architects, we're the lead for the project. We're teamed very closely with a group called Liz Sargent Historical Landscape Architects out of Charlottesville, Virginia. They exclusively work on historical and cultural landscapes of importance in North America, and they've really worked on some of the most important spaces around our country. They've been to Nashville 3 times now, and I've spent a lot of time on the site as well. Our advisory team, we have historian Dr. LaRotha Williams, who's an historian with TSU, with a focus on African American history in Nashville. Phil Walker with the Walker Collaborative is a planner, but also a Civil War historian. David Curry of Encore Interpretive, he wrote the Fort Negley Cultural Landscape Report, which is really a foundational document for the work we're doing. Local nonprofit group Converge, Alicia and Eric Mallow, they focus on public art and also engagement. We have a high school senior on our team, Jalen Hayes, who is helping us with youth engagement on the community. And then we have a very strong and robust technical team, Ed Henley with Pillars Development, Centric Architecture, so on and so forth. Everything from civil engineering to archaeology with TVAR. And we also have Dr. Dwayne Estes on our team, who's working, I believe, with Terry on the native grassland restoration and some other parks. So we're looking at how can we maintain the Fort Negley landscape in a way that lowers the maintenance burden for parks, but also stabilizes and doesn't cause any more destruction to the very fragile stonework on the site. So this is our team. We're all in the process of analysis and discovery right now, and really busy at work trying to wrap up that work so we can move on into our next phase. So a little bit of site context. I think you all are aware of where this sits within our community. You can see here, it really in so many ways is an extremely urban park. In some ways it's a downtown park. We're very close to downtown. We're surrounded by rapidly growing neighborhoods, rapidly changing neighborhoods, Edge Hill, Wedgwood Houston, Chestnut Hill, Naples, Sudicum, and Sobro. And we're very much on an island and divided from these neighborhoods through Interstate 40 and 65, and also a railroad that cuts us off from the east. We've noted some other historical landscapes that are of great importance in some other parks: Nashville City Cemetery, Rose Park, and Reservoir Park. Together with Fort Negley, they tell a pretty all-encompassing story of the history of Nashville, and some very specific stories which we think can be told in even greater detail together. So one of the things we're looking at as a part of our scope is how we can begin to physically link these sites together through greenways and pathways, but also programmatically, how can we begin to link these parks together as they do tell an all-encompassing story. This is an aerial view before Greer was demolished. You can see there at 38 acres. And you can see very clearly from this photograph sort of how Fort Negley does sit in this very prominent place within our urban fabric. And you could see City Cemetery, Rose Park, and Reservoir Park just off the page to the left. Some site images, of course, due to its topographic significance, the reason it was a fort in the first place. We have wonderful 360-degree views of the city. We were just up there for an ASLA tour a few weeks ago with Krista, and I think people from all over the country were there, and they were just blown away by this view, and it really is a very special place. Obviously, we have the visitor center. That's an incredibly important asset to the site that's been there since 2008. Krista has been incredibly helpful to us as we've really taken a deep dive into the history of the site, and that's been an incredible resource. I mentioned the cultural landscape report. That really has been the foundation of the work we're doing. It's a wonderful report. It's exhaustive. It's about 80 pages. I think I've read it twice now. It really is fascinating, and it set the foundation for this to be preserved as a park in perpetuity, which was incredibly important coming off of some of the previous proposals. And so as far as our timeline, we're in phase one right now. We're in the discover phase. This is really our site analysis, existing conditions review, and our historical and cultural review. One of the things that I want to mention that we're doing along with Liz Sargent is currently the fort itself, everything within the ring road has a National Registry designation. That doesn't necessarily include the WPA era, and it doesn't include specifically the African American history and heritage on that site. So one of the things we're doing is working with the SHPO, as well as the state archaeologist, to write a letter of determination to include both the WPA era history as well as the African American heritage story. That has to be evidence-based, and so a lot of the time that Liz Sargent and Jen Trompeter, who works with her, have been doing, they've been having meetings with Dr. Williams, Krista, Angela Sutton from Vanderbilt to establish that determination, and we're very positive or hopeful that that will be accepted. What that does is give us a very strong foundation to interpret the site in a little bit different way than it has been in the past. So we're right in the middle of that discovery phase. That culminated, or a large part of that was a public meeting we had November 9th, which we'll talk about here in a moment. We're trying to wrap that up here in the next few weeks. We'll move into a design phase. We'll look at programmatic planning interpretive theming, preservation framework, program exploration, and design visioning, essentially what can and is appropriate to happen on the site. Obviously, we have to plan a little bit differently here than we would in maybe a more traditional park, because some things are going to be more appropriate than others. And then finally, we'll have another public meeting after that. We think that will culminate in hopefully some consensus about what this place can be. And then we will deliver the master plan document. We'll get into prioritization, budgeting, implementation, and phasing. So we're right sort of at the end of our discovery phase. We hope to be wrapped up sort of late spring with our final master plan document. We'll be moving into design in the new year, early spring. So look forward to coming back and presenting those findings with you. One of the things that was very important that we do from the outset was establish some guiding principles. These are draft principles. These were presented to the community. We asked them to vote on them and give us comments back. But Fort Negley is an incredibly special and sensitive place. And so we needed to establish guiding principles that all of our decisions would be filtered through. So preserve and maintain, reveal and honor, create, connect, and engage were the general themes. Preserve and maintain. As one of the nation's most significant historical and cultural sites, we want to preserve and celebrate what makes this site uniquely Nashville, while also amplifying the characteristics that draw people to it today. Preservation is at the heart of what we're doing with this plan. We know that to be successful, we have to preserve both the fort itself, the surrounding areas, and probably most importantly, the stories that they embody. And so everything we do is being viewed through the lens of preservation and long-term maintenance. We want to reveal and honor those stories, which are sometimes a little bit hidden or under the surface. Many of those site stories have been erased or untold over time. Krista's doing a great job at the Visitor Center of bringing those stories to light, and we want this process to really aid and complement those efforts. We envision a future where those stories are, as I said, unearthed and revealed, where people can come and learn about our collective past and feel a greater connection to their community. And we saw that and felt that in the community meeting we had on November 9th. And then finally, create, connect, and engage. While this is a site of regional and national importance, it's also a neighborhood park to many people. We connect very directly to neighborhoods that need green space. And so as it's situated within the growing city, in its location to other parks and cultural sites, they do allow for these connections both physically and programmatically. We want to draw in a diverse range of people from both near and far. So together that makes up sort of the framework of all our decisions in that decision-making process. So I want to talk a little bit about the public engagement meeting we had on November 9th. I've been a part of many park public engagement meetings over the last few decades, and I can tell you emphatically this was probably the most special. I think it was the most well-attended one I've ever been to. And it really was just a wonderful night of engagement and discussion, and a meaningful night. We started out with a panel discussion, a 45-minute discussion, moderated by Chris Cotton. The panel featured Dr. Lee Williams, Dr. Carol Busey, Krista Castillo, and Gary Burke, who's a descendant of one of the soldiers who was stationed at Fort Negley. It was a wonderful discussion. Everyone, we went around and there was a series of about 4 or 5 questions. Everyone had a chance to sort of respond. I know I learned a lot. I think everyone in the audience learned a lot. And it really set the stage for a very meaningful engagement session that we had directly afterwards. That included some interactive stations, a memory station where we had a lot of historic photographs. We asked people to record their memories or emotions about the site. We had a poet there who was observing this, and she has gone back and is producing a series of poems which we're hopeful we'll be able to introduce the next public engagement meeting with that collection of poetry, and it's going to be based on people's memories of Fort Negley. We built a physical model of the site and asked people to sort of write down what they wanted to see happen on the site. I think this was probably the most popular station. We had a guiding principles station where we asked people to vote on the guiding principles, and then we had a programming station where we outlined some things that could happen on the site. interpretation, theming, maybe a playground, fields, things like that. And it was really open-ended. We asked people to put a red dot on the things they didn't want to see and a green dot on things they did want to see. And we got a lot of great information. Here's some photographs, Dr. Williams and Krista, the boards, the physical model. People were able to come and sort of place little flags with their comments where they wanted to see things happen. So we had 700 plus comments. Over 130 people participated. 26 people were brave enough to share their memories on the board. This is just a tiny snippet of the information we had. It was really hard for us to sort of distill this down into one slide, and it's not finished yet. We're sort of actively finishing this, but we've mapped all the information we got from the model. You can see here that green represents good, red are things that people didn't want to see on the programming station. So people weren't as interested in fields here, very interested in things like playgrounds, theming, interpretation, and event lawns. And then we asked people, reveal and honor was the guiding principle that people were most excited about, followed closely by create, connect, and engage, and then preserve and maintain. And really, we're not reading too much into that because preserve and maintain, we were very upfront that preserve and maintain was at the core of what we were doing. So I don't know if people felt like they needed to vote on that as much. But lots of great information came from this. That's going to really guide all of our future decisions. I should mention we also met with about 12 stakeholder groups one-on-one over the past 2 months. And we're able to have a lot of good one-on-one feedback as well. So happy to answer any questions about our process. Very excited about moving forward. Yes, George.
I think it's important to mention there is a Fort Negley Advisory Committee.
Yes.
That was appointed by, this 2 years ago. Of course, COVID delayed that, supported by this board and the mayor, and it's an amazing group of people. I would add it to your presentation just to have it, because it's volunteers and it's a good cross-section of Nashville. And the chair's Kix Brooks, who's amazing, who rolls up his sleeves and is really passionate about this. And, the thought is for them to have input as well and also to help on fundraising afterwards. So they're really heavily engaged. The mayor's heavily engaged. And it's really a great collaborative effort for the whole city. But I would certainly make sure we mention the advisory committee.
Sure. Makes sense.
Great job.
Thank you. Jeff.
I have continued to emphasize to Lucy Kempf as the planning commissioner on this board that protecting the view sheds from this treasured site is critical. Yep. So I would continue to encourage you to interface with her as Nashville continues to grow in a southerly direction in Sobro and Rolling Mill Hill. Some of those view sheds are going to get jeopardized. And that's a real push-pull with our city because we need more density downtown. I'm not sure we need it to impair these view sheds.
Yeah, that's a good point. We did meet with planning, Jeff, and we talked about that. We didn't come to any resolutions, but they are aware of what we're doing and aware of how important those view sheds are. So we didn't meet directly with Lucy. We met with Sean, but we may follow up with Lucy on that.
And not to pick on my industry, but most of the out-of-town developers who are coming here don't value Fort Negley or value this Parks Board efforts like we Nashvillians do. So I think it's important for your committee, for George's task force, to continue to flex their muscles.
Great.
Any other questions? That was a great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us. Yep. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the capital projects update by Tim Nage.
At the highlights. At Centennial Park, the Children's Memory Garden, if you've been in the park, you've seen that the construction fence has gone up around the project area, and we're working on some permitting issues and resolution of some lead time on certain materials before they actually mobilize and get going on the site. A new project on your list this month is in Clinton Fisk Park. You may know that park was really flattened by the tornado more than a year ago now. So funding was allocated for reinvestment and redevelopment of that park. And we at long last have ordered all of the playground equipment and fitness equipment and some of the other improvements that are going to go into that park. And then we're working on issuing a purchase order also for paving and some of the other improvements that will happen there. We should wrap up on that next summer, hopefully. At Fort Negley, the stonework repair, we've made a little bit of progress since I produced this. We're in the process of issuing a purchase order for the first phase of stonework repair. And if we're lucky, if the capital spending plan that's currently before council is accepted, we'll have an additional infusion of funds to tackle more work. None of this is going to start until next spring. That's the soonest that the historic masonry contractor will be able to mobilize on the site. At Hadley Park, the pavilion project is nearly complete. I have been saying that it will be done in fall of 2021, and I think fall ends on December 21st, but if we're lucky, we will be done with it by the end of the year. So the pavilion itself looks great. It's done. What we're missing are the panels on the ceilings, which are inspired by African textiles and are really going to make that structure pop. And then we've got a new entry monument at the corner that was designed to include the name of the park. And since the name of the park may change, we are coming up with a temporary solution that will say Hadley Park, and then when the naming issue is resolved, we will remove that temporary solution and engrave the limestone with whatever the name of the park ends up being. Another new project is the Old Hickory Community Center project. We had done some initial schematic planning there in 2018, and then we were allocated funding to proceed with design, and we will relaunch that design phase very soon. At Sevier Park, the Sunnyside Mansion restoration, again, since I produced this document for you, we've completed design, and that is now at Metro Procurement, so they are pulling together the materials that will allow us to put that out for construction bidding. At Wharf Park, the master planning team there is developing concepts now for the site with the intent of having a next round of public meetings in January. And one factor that will inform what is presented in January is what happens with 88 Hermitage, which is a property that is adjacent to the park, that is on Hermitage Avenue and may be acquired by Metro, which would allow us to expand the footprint of the park. So we'd like to know what's going to happen with that before we present concepts for the park to the public. But we're shooting for January on that. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Let's see, the next item is, I've lost my place. Is it Director? Oh, okay. The next item is Jackie Jones.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays. I'm going to run through my report fairly quickly. You have an updated event sheet in front of you, which is very different from the one you initially received. On December 9th, we have the Metro Police Victim Intervention Program, A Season to Remember. This will actually take place this year on the green space outside the Centennial Arts Center. This is an annual event honoring homicide victims and their survivors. On December 10th, the Metro tree lighting ceremony is at 5:30 p.m. on Public Square Park. You know that Metro Park's landscaping crew does a phenomenal job each year in finding just the right Christmas tree. And if you're interested in seeing how it looks, it's on display now at the Public Square. On December 11th, we have the 157th anniversary celebration of the Battle of Nashville at Fort Negley. You're invited to join Union soldiers for a day of infantry We will also have the second public input meeting on the master plan for Fort Negley on that day and during that event as well. The event is scheduled from 9 to 4 p.m. On December 16th, we have the one-year ceremony of reflection for the Nashville Christmas Day bombing. That ceremony will actually take place on the John Siegenthaler Pedestrian Bridge. The ceremony will include an invocation, music, and keynote. The community is invited and encouraged to attend this event. On Saturday, December 11th, we have the annual Homeless Memorial. Every year, the community remembers and honors our neighbors from the homeless community who have died. This year, the event will take place at 8:30 a.m. on Saturday, December 11th at Riverfront Park. And of course, on December 31st, we have the Jack Daniels Music City Midnight New Year's Celebration. Headliners include Dierks Bentley, the Zach Brown Band, Sam Hunt, the Fisk Jubilee Singers, and that is it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. The next item on the agenda is a report from the director.
Thank you so much, and my report will be brief as well. The proposed capital spending plan is on first reading at Metro Council this evening. There were a number of amendments added last night at Budget and Finance. So the final capital spending plan will likely look very different from what I shared with you a few weeks ago, but I will share the final version once it is passed. We will meet with Metro Finance next week for our mid-year budget meeting, and we'll discuss the current year's budget and any forecasting for FY23 next year. So we always look forward to that. We continue to work to fill vacancies, which has been difficult for this department and this government and all industries across our land, but we are nonetheless still working hard to fill those vacancies. The petition for the renaming of Hadley Park is with Metro Legal under review. Thank you, Jim Hester, for your diligence and hard work on that. And also the petition for removal of the Confederate private monument is also with legal, and legal is working on that. Thank you, Krista Castillo, for your support and work on that. For your information, a complaint has been filed with the Tennessee Historical Commission regarding the planting of trees or the arboretum at Adventure Science Center. To that end, we have suspended our research efforts or excavations at Fort Negley, and Adventure Science Center has done the same until we get more guidance from the state. We're working with legal to address that complaint. We continue to work with other city agencies and community agencies on Brookmead Park in particular, but addressing homelessness in all of our parks and on our greenways. So that is, never-ending work. And then finally, a special thank you to the Nashville Parks Foundation for their generosity and again sponsoring our Parks Employee Holiday Lunch. It'll be Friday, December 10th from 11 to 1:30. And similar to last year, it will be a drive-through pickup and distribution. And we just appreciate the generosity of the Nashville Parks Foundation. And actually for them recognizing the challenging responsibilities of our park staff and the important role that our parks team plays in the city of Nashville. And finally, the next time this body convenes, we will be in a new year. So I want to wish all of you a happy, healthy, reflective, and restful holiday season. That's it.
Director Odom, thank you for that report. I have a question about, I'd like to dig in a little bit on the complaint that was filed. Can you share a little more about the nature of that?
Please.
So we received a complaint.
Do you mind going to
Go
the
to
podium?
I don't know how to turn this thing on. Okay, we received a complaint that was filed by a member of the African American Cultural Alliance. They filed it in relation to, I think, 8 trees that were planted on the space that we leased to the Adventure Science Center. The Adventure Science Center, it's my understanding they did the plantings. TVAR dug the holes for the trees. And they're saying that that violates the Tennessee Heritage Protection Act. A judge has been assigned to the case. There's 3 parties, us, Metro, the state of Tennessee, and then the complainant. So the judge gave the complainant until last Friday to respond about scheduling a pre-hearing telephone conference and identifying an attorney, and they have not done either one of those as of yet. So we're just waiting right now. But within the next several months, there will be probably mediation, but then ultimately a hearing on the matter.
And so did I understand that the Arboretum, nothing further at all is being done on the Arboretum?
So I have asked the Adventure Science Center to put any future plantings, any diggings on the property, period, on hold until we get more guidance from the state. Unfortunately, that also includes educational excavations that had been happening on the property that some of the local universities were doing, just because we don't know, how this is all going to shake out. If the state of Tennessee says digging on the property, period, violates the Tennessee Heritage Protection Act, then, we can't have these universities digging on the property. So, that includes planting, landscaping to the extent that includes digging in the ground.
Which normally does
Yeah.
include digging, yeah.
And also, I heard someone mention the Stonewall repair at Fort Negley master plan. I've also asked that to the extent that that involves any sort of excavation, that we just wait until we receive some guidance. I think once the ball gets moving in this, it'll move fairly quickly. But right now we're just sort of in a holding pattern, probably for the next week or two, maybe until the end of the year with the holidays coming up. But
So you think it'll be potentially resolved fairly quickly?
I think so. Yeah, I think that it'll be resolved once the ball gets moving in a couple of months.
Okay, thank you.
Regarding the new year, I'd like to raise potentially moving the January meeting from the 4th to the 11th to allow for those who may be out of town, so we don't have a quorum issue.
Yeah, you're ahead of me. Yeah. That was recommended. Do we need to vote on that?
Vote?
Okay. So we're moving the parks, the next parks meeting would be January 11th, Tuesday, January 11th. Let's see, I had a question for Director Odom related to the issue of homeless, maybe related to the Brookmead in particular. I had heard something about surveillance cameras, and I'm not sure if I heard that correctly, and if you can just kind of share with.
So a part of the request we made to the COVID Finance Committee and then to Metro Council was included in that request was funding for renovating Brookmead Park. It included cameras in there that we use throughout the park system, and then some equipment, heavy equipment to help with cleaning up abandoned encampments. And so last night at Budget and Finance, it was that request, although it had been amended, was approved. And so I think one of the issues that was salient throughout this entire discussion was about the request for cameras. And those cameras were the ones that were approved yesterday were just for Brookmead, but we had requested them for throughout the park system where we were aware that there have been issues or there may be issues, there have been issues in the past, keeping in mind that we have about 48 locations now in the park and in the park system, and over 300 cameras that are already in the park. Of course, it's cost prohibitive to have cameras everywhere, but where we know that they may be helpful and have been effective, that is where we placed them. So that was a part of this funding request.
We already have 300.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm, yes.
And so the heavy equipment it's been approved, but it's been improved to be in the, in that lineup.
So the equipment request was amended. In the initial request, Bobcat excavators had been included in that. That was removed. So what would the equipment, that heavy equipment that was approved at Budget and Finance and not yet finally at Council, were, I think, trash trucks to help with the removal of the debris.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other announcements or requests for future agenda items or any other open items? You got your mic on.
I'm ready.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, then I'll accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
That's what I'm ready for. So moved.
All right, the meeting's adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.